So that's another good lead into speculative office development, new Class A buildings. Is there a need? Do we need to figure out how to reuse some of the vast amount of B space? Then we have all this sublease space. So, Chip, what are you seeing in Houston with regards to that?
You know, right now we've got 2 million feet under construction still, of which all that's about 55% pre-leased. Big chunk of that's Texas Tower that we're leasing downtown. I think there's going to be a continued need for new development. There's just a lot of movement in the tenant market, a lot of interloop activity, tenants looking to move up in quality. So there's always a need. I mean, certainly in a post-COVID world, getting deals off the ground will be a lot more challenging for developers. They're going to need to prove up, you know, pre-leasing or deal activity. But, you know, I think there are existing buildings too. Like downtown, we've seen hundreds of millions of dollars get spent on renovations on buildings downtown. So there's a big push to really renovate buildings, existing buildings. So there'll be tenants that are going to look at these new developments very favorably. They want to be, you know, more floor to ceiling glass, better, you know, floor depth, better layout for the open concept kind of space in the post-COVID, you know, world. And then there'll be tenants that'll still look at the existing A buildings. So it'll be an interesting thing to watch, but I think there still will be demand for new Class A product, particularly for Houston. We've got a lot of 80s vintage buildings and even 70s vintage buildings. And you look at our vacancy stats, I mean, there's a lot of buildings that, you know, unfortunately have become functionally obsolete. They're just not that appealing to the prospective tenant. The tenant wants to move up in class or move to a new development. So a lot of that's, you know, dragging our stats down, but I think we'll still see Class A demand for new development.
Jim, what are you seeing with Howard Hughes?
Yeah, well, you know, I don't think we're going to break ground in the next couple of months on a spec building. And you know, our vacancy rate in the Woodlands historically has been much lower than Houston for a number of reasons. Number one is just the control supply. You know, we have a great handle on supply in terms of, you know, we can deliver a building really quickly when the market demands. We did that at Hughes Landing. We did a build to suit for Alight Solutions, which we opened last February. We built it in 13 months from the time that we signed the lease to the time they moved in. And that's due to, you know, the pro-business, pro-growth environment here and just the ability to move fast in these markets. And so we've got space to, I think we're about 13% vacant in our portfolio. And so we need to fill some space. But, you know, we're seeing activity, and I don't know about the others, but I would say we've seen more activity this quarter than the last 3 in 2020 combined, for sure. We're not seeing the whales out there. Wish there was a couple 100,000 footer swimming around, but we've seen the full floors come back, and you know, it's going to be a point where we'll be building spec office again, but nothing on the plans right now.
Dan, is that true for you too?
Yeah, we've actually got some plans to bring some industrial properties online. We've got a couple of developments north of Fort Worth. One of them's a flex, one of them's a full dock-eye building. We've got a lot of interest in that. As far as office, I mean, we typically acquire, and we've seen quite a few properties on the market that are very attractively priced. So we may do some expansion that way. But as far as, you know, new building construction or office building, we're probably not going to be in the market for that.